Okay, so regulation of the cell. How does the cell regulate itself? So all of your cell growth and cell division is extremely well controlled. For example, when you get an injury such as a cut, okay, um, your body has to repair that, and to do it, it needs to make new cells. So at the edges of that cut, all of those cells are going to start dividing. So there is something that stimulates that division so they can quickly repair your skin. And then there is another action that starts to slow down the cell division once you have enough cells to repair that cut. So you get a cut, cells divide quickly. Then once you have enough cells, they start to slow down. So what makes that happen? We're going to skip that. We have some cell cycle regulators, and they are called cyclins. Okay, these are proteins that help to regulate when our cells are dividing and what cycle that they are in. So they are what determines when your cell is ready to move to the next phase. Think of them as kind of little checkpoints, okay? Once they meet that checkpoint and they go through a little analysis to make sure the cell has done everything it needs to move on to the next phase, then they get the green light to go ahead and go. So after each phase, we have a little checkpoint, and they can only go on to the next part if they have met certain requirements. If a cell does not meet certain requirements, okay, if they reach a checkpoint and there is a mistake found or some sort of injury, okay, those errors have to be repaired before it can move on. If not, it might get to a point where the errors are beyond being repaired, and then apoptosis will occur. Apoptosis is when a cell is basically self-destructed. It programs itself to die. So there are two types of regulators. The internal regulators are inside the cell, and they allow the cell to proceed to the next stage when certain conditions happen inside the cell. If it doesn't meet those conditions, such as if a cell has not duplicated its chromosomes at the end of S phase, then it's not allowed to go on to mitosis. There are also external regulators that are outside the cell. So these can speed up and slow down the cell cycle. So for example, when we talked about when you get a cut, okay, and those cells need to start replicating themselves quickly to help heal you. And then they learn that they must slow down because there are enough cells now. Those are all external regulators. Cancer occurs when cell growth is out of control. Okay, something has happened, the cell is not responding how it needs to, and it just keeps dividing and dividing and dividing. Okay, a normal cell would go through apoptosis. Okay, they find the mistake and they just shut it down. But when that doesn't happen, that's when a cancer can occur. So this is a disorder in the body where the cells have lost their ability to control their growth. Okay, they don't respond to the regulators that they normally would that help to control when cells need to divide and when they do not. Okay, so some cancer cells might not respond to the internal regulators, and then some the external regulators. So when a cell starts dividing uncontrollably, that's when a tumor is formed. Okay, cells can also break off of that tumor and spread throughout the body, and this can promote uncontrolled cell growth, which means it can cause more tumors to form. So something that is known to cause cancer is called a carcinogen. Some different examples would be having a poor diet, smoking tobacco, UV radiation exposure, which could be natural or artificial, so from sun or something like a tanning bed, and then certain viral infections. So here we have all of our normal cells okay? And then you can see these cells, they look irregular. They are a little bit different in shape and size, okay? And there's a lot of them and jammed into one space. There are too many there, and that is a tumor. So normally if we have a cell, it divides into two, and then that cell will divide into two. And if something goes wrong, apoptosis occurs. If apoptosis does not occur, something is wrong in that cell. It continues to divide and divide and divide and divide. And then where we should only have a few cells, we have tons of cells, and their growth gets out of control. And that is cell regulation.